Hi, my name is Hanna Persliden and I would like to share some of my story with you. I started working with prophetic evangelism in Sweden, that's where I'm from, a couple of years ago, 5 years ago. And when I was moving into that ministry, I went to one of my supporting churches and I was going to tell them about this new direction of ministry connected with streams. And so I sat down in one of the cars that was going to take me to the meeting. And when I sat down in the car, this memory, just like a flash, came to me. And I remember when I was a child, I was 10 years old, and I was playing in the basement of my church. And all of a sudden, a woman comes down, and she's totally exhausted. And so two people has to help her down. And so us kids, we're wondering what's going on and what's wrong with her. And so they tell us that no, nothing's wrong. She's just had a major encounter with God. And sometimes you just get exhausted, so all is well. And that's all I remember. And at that time, such a huge hunger was being stirred in me. And so that's the memory. And that just flashes through my head as I sit down in this car taking me to the meeting to meet my supporting church. And we start talking in the church about this new direction and me being connected with streams. And they start saying, "Oh, John Paul Jackson, I recognize his name somehow. Something with his name." And after 10 minutes or so, they finally understood where they got that name from. And they said, "John Paul, well, wasn't he in our church?" "Yes, he was in our church," says the driver. Because at that time, he gave an incredibly strong prophetic word, and God just met my wife in such a fantastic way that she just got so exhausted, and two people had to help her down into the basement to lay down on the sofa. And as I was sitting there, that was my memory. And so for the first time I understood that it was John Paul, and he had been in my church 20 years ago when I was 10 years old. And that's when the great hunger for more of God was being awakened in me. And it was just fantastic to see how God has known that all the time. It just gave me a huge confirmation that I was on the right track, and that John Paul has been in so many different places and there's been so much fruit. So since then, I've been training a small team in prophetic evangelism, reaching out to people who are seekers in the New Age. And so we've started meeting every week and going to a local pub and meeting seekers and doing spiritual readings for them. And so they're getting closer and closer and closer to realizing who God is. And we've also been going to New Age fairs in Sweden, where we've seen God do amazing things with these seekers that He loves. And some of them have even been ready to receive the full gospel and receive Jesus. And we're on that journey still. There's much more that's going to happen.